and this will enable universal security for workers. To enable the take home that employees get to take to their home, the contribution of ESIC has been reduced from 6.5% to 4%. This will thereby put more money in the hands of employees, and thereby should also help in fostering consumption. In terms of compliance to labor laws, the web-based jurisdiction-free inspections have been enabled with report to be uploaded within 48 hours. Thereby, the compliance requirement will actually be simplified significantly in the employer-employment relationship. Now, let me just conclude by highlighting some important trends that are emerging in the economy, which we should certainly take note of. So this is some analysis that we've done on the status of employment, comparing it in 17-18 versus 2011-12. As you would recall, there have been several measures that have been taken over the last 5 years to formalize the economy. What you notice here, and this is the most important aspect to take note of, is that if you look at the distribution of employees between casual workers, regular salaried workers, and self-employed workers, what you would notice is that the percentage of casual workers has gone down by 5%, and the regular salaried workers has gone up by an equivalent 5%. So in 11-12, the percentage of casual workers was 30%, which has come down now, and regular salaried has gone up by 5%. This translates into about 2.3 crore jobs moving from casual workers to regular salaried. Within the self-employed as well, and that's some important variation that one must actually focus on, which is that within self-employed, you actually the self for instance, or unpaid family labor, which is actually the kid or let's say the wife working without getting paid. Within this, the important change that has happened is that unpaid family labor has gone down and own account worker has increased. And if these changes, especially on the movement from casual workers to regular salaried, is seen a lot more in the rural areas, with casual workers basically moving to salaried. In the urban areas, the move is from self-employed to salaried. So this is an important, transformation that is happening in the economy, formalization of the workforce. If you look at it from a different angle, the proportion of workers in agriculture has gone down by 5%, and this has been absorbed by a 4% increase in services and a 1% increase in industry. And this change is particularly highlighted in the rural areas where people have moved from agriculture to services. Finally, if you look at the organized versus unorganized distribution, organized workforce in the organized sector has increased by 2%, with a concomitant decrease in the unorganized sector by 2%. Within the organized sector itself, if you focus on the split between informal versus formal, there's a decrease in the informal sector and an increase in the formal sector. So when you look at it collectively, all these different angles that I've provided, this clearly suggests that there is actually a change in the nature of work. And that's one other way of looking at it is by splitting this into remunerative versus less remunerative jobs. And the proportion, I want you to take a note here, is that in the rural areas, proportion of remunerative jobs have increased by 3.3%. So the less remunerative ones have actually decreased concomitantly. In urban areas, the increase has been about 1.4%. In aggregate, there is actually an increase about 3.2% in the remunerative jobs and a concomitant decrease in the less remunerative, which is consistent with what we saw with salaried workers increasing, with agriculture going down, the proportion of services and manufacturing increasing, and organized actually increasing within organized itself, formal versus informal. So to sort of conclude, there are important steps that have been taken, and which is also reflected in the changing nature of the economy over the last 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We will try to provide you a copy of the presentation later on. May I now request the Revenue Secretary for the brief presentation? Yes, ma'am. We'll do that, ma'am.
इसी में है क्या दिखाइए तो किधर है ठीक है इसको स्लाइड से Good afternoon. My colleague, Chief Economic Advisor, has already given you the overall perspective. He has also spoken about how much money is being put in the economy to help and improve. So one of the important aspect was refund of taxes. So here we have given a comparative picture. So basically in the indirect tax, we have IGST refund. The IGST refund, let me explain to you that particularly the exporters who exports and then whatever GST has been paid on those products which are being exported, they get refund of IGST, GST through IGST refund. So in 2018-19, we had given a refund in 16.3 lakhs. Total amount was 56,000 crores. In 1920 till now, we have given refund of 9.64 and almost about 39,000 crores. ITC refund, there are many cases where the refund has to be granted, mostly because of inverted duty structure. So there, the last year the total refund was 36,000 crores. Now this year, because we have expedited refund, because we are trying to ensure that the people get refunds in time. This year, till November, we have already given refunds to the tune of 33,000 crores. So last year, total refund in one year 36,000 crores. This year till November, 33,000 crores. Now, so far the income tax, the direct tax is concerned, the last year total number of refunds that we issued was 1.84 crores and total amount was 1.23 lakhs crore. Now in this year, till November, rather till 11th of December, we have already issued refund of 2.16 crores and amounting to 1.57 lakh crores. So if you can see increase over 2018-19, in terms of numbers, 17% increase, and in terms of percentage, in case of a direct tax, 27.2% increase. So if you sum total, both direct tax and indirect tax, total refunds that have been issued in this year is amounting to almost 2.2 lakh crores, 2,20,000 crores. Now, what we have done is that in case of a refund, we have in GST, we have made this entire refund process completely automated. Earlier, people used to go and apply before the GST authorities, and then those refunds used to be processed manually. From 26th of September, it's a completely online process. The people are able to file the online, online processing, sanctions and disbursement, everything. Earlier, every GST refunds constitute the state GST and then the CGST, and then the state used to give sanctions separately, central government used to sanction separately, and they used to be disbursed also separately. So what we have done is that now is the single source disbursement. The refunds are, refund applications are given online, they are sanctioned, disbursed also online, and then a single authority disburses the refund, and then the states and center, they split the whole refund amount. They adjust the refund amount later. Now, in GST, we have taken some recent, the important initiative. So we have introduced e-invoice. From 1st of January, all taxpayers, all companies having more than 500 crores, they will have an option to generate electronic invoice from 1st of January 2020. Why we are doing it? Because from 1st of April 2020, we are going to make electronic invoice mandatory for the companies having turnover more than 100 crores. So what we want is that the people should get used to the whole new electronic invoice system, so that they don't face any difficulty when it is actually introduced from 1st of April 2020. And so what we have proposed is that the companies above 100 crore turnovers, it will be mandatory for them to issue electronic invoice, and then we can bring down this turnover limit, so that others also can take advantage of this. Now, once e-invoice is generated, then their returns also can also be self-generated, because as you know that in GST, one has to give the details of his sales and purchase. So all sales invoices, sales figures will be collected from the electronic invoice itself. So at the end of the month, the returns will be generated from all the e-invoice that has been generated by the taxpayers. So that will be automatically populated. And also in future we have plans that once the e-invoice has been generated, it will not require a separate generation of e-way bill. So that will be also another step towards the simplification. Now, further, there were certain suggestions on the annual returns and the reconciliation statement for the financial year 2017-18 and 18-19. So what we have done, that we have made this annual returns and reconciliation statement optional for the taxpayers having less than 2 crore turnover. And also for these 2 years, many of the fields where the taxpayers were facing difficulties, we have made them optional. And also we organized a stakeholder feedback divas all over the country on 7th of December. So we did this in 193 cities, where 19,645 stakeholders participated, in the sense that they came with their live data, and then they actually tried to fill in their returns, and then we tried to understand what difficulties they had, and then what improvement could be made, what further simplification is required. So that was very, very valuable. Now, so far as the compliance simplification is concerned, we have also recently introduced a document identification number. From 8th of November 2019, so far as the indirect tax is concerned, the GST, customs, we have said that any document that is issued, or any letter or any summons or any notice that is issued by any of these indirect tax department like customs or GST or the DRI, every document will contain DIN number, and unless until that DIN number is there, that document, that notice, that summons, that so-called notice, that will be legally invalid, and the taxpayer, he can go to the portal, enter the DIN number, and try and find out that whether that particular notice is indeed true. It is just not. It has just not been issued to threaten somebody and try to scare away the people. Also, for the refund drive, as I was mentioning, that a special refund drive for the MSME was taken in the month of September 2019, and since then, so I have given the figures here that prior to this refund drive for the MSME, 74,000 cases were pending, and the total amount involved was 10,841 crores. And till date, we have sanctioned 9,561 crore, and in total 66,150 cases, and then the remaining cases could be held up because of compliance of some documents, which will also get cleared soon. Now, we have also, in this budget, we announced that Sabka Biswas, this legacy dispute resolution, because we want to bring down the pendency of the disputes. So this offer has already been made, where the cases which are pending in adjudication of appeal, the relief of 70% of duty demand, and if the amount is more than 50 lakhs, or if the amount is, if the amount is less than 50 lakhs, then the relief of 70% duty can be given, and if the amount is more than 50 lakhs, then the relief of 50% duty can be taken. Similarly, wherever the demand is confirmed and no appeal is pending, there the relief of 60% of the confirmed duty if the amount is 50 lakhs or less, and relief of 40% of confirmed duty if the amount is more than 50 lakhs. And in case of a voluntary disclosure, the assessee has to, of course, pay the full disclosed amount. So total, we have already received the application for the settlement, this 52,000 crores, which involves 27,911 crore rupees. Now, so far the direct tax is concerned, the major initiatives have been taken. As we are all aware, that the corporate tax rate, our Chief Economic Advisor also mentioned that we have now brought down the tax rate to 22% and effective tax rate 25.17, and provided no tax exemption, no MAT are claimed. For the new manufacturing companies, the new domestic manufacturing company, they will have to pay only 15% tax rate. Effective tax rate is 17.16%. Again, provided it does not claim any exemption, deduction, and no MAT for these companies. We also reduced this rate for MAT. That earlier it was 18.5%, brought down to 15%. This buyback provisions also was grandfathered. Enhanced surcharge, which was introduced in this budget, that also has been partially withdrawn, particularly, and fully withdrawn for the FPIs. The auto sector, you may recall that in the month of August, September, to help the auto sector, the enhanced depreciation was given, where the rates of appreciation was increased by 15%. The existing rate was 15%, which we increased to 30%, and particularly for the hired vehicle, it was 30%, we increased it to 45%. Then, for the ease of compliance, this faceless and randomized assessment was introduced from Vijayadashmi Day in this year, and meaning thereby that a taxpayer in Mumbai, if his case is selected for scrutiny, his case could be assessed by any tax officer in some other country, some other state or the city like Lucknow, and the entire the proceeding will be conducted completely faceless. So in this scheme, 58,322 cases have already been covered, and questionnaires have been issued in 19,883 cases, and those cases are also being taken forward. The income tax department, just like the indirect tax, it also introduced this document identification number from 1st of October 2019. And again, I would repeat that any document or any notice or any letter that you receive from income tax department which does not have the DIN number, that is legally not valid. And we have said that, you know, if people receive such notice, they don't need to reply to such notice because they are not legally valid. Also, we have simplified the compliance norms for the startups because they were facing very certain difficulties. So what we have done is that we have issued we have simplified the procedures, and also we have constituted a dedicated startup cell, which is headed by a member of the CVDT. And since then, you know, the amount of complaints that we used to get, particularly from the startups, have actually reduced, because during the last 2-3 months, we have not received any major grievance from any startups. Also, reduction in litigation. The appeals which were pending in ITAT or the High Court or the Supreme Court, we have enhanced the monetary limits, and because of that, 13,000 appeals have been withdrawn by the department from the various courts. In this year, we also introduced the pre-filling of the income tax returns. You must have noticed that in this year, in the month of July and August, when the returns were filed, particularly about the salaried class who filed this ITR1, the most of the information was pre-filled, like, you know, your salary information, deduction informations, you know, and then the bank interest information. Many of those informations were pre-filled. More than 2 crore salary taxpayers took advantage of this. Now, about the speedy issuance of refunds, I have already mentioned that in this year, the total amount of refund has increased by 27.2%. Last year, we issued a refund of 1.23 lakh crore in the entire year. This year, we have already issued refund of 1.57 lakh crores. Also, we have given relaxation in the norms of prosecution, particularly about the TDS. We used to receive a complaint that for a small violations, the taxpayers used to be prosecuted. So what we have said, that if the amount is less than 25 lakhs, particularly in TDS deduction, then in such cases, the prosecution decision will be taken by a collegium of officers, and particularly of the Chief Commissioner's income tax rank, and then only the prosecution could be filed, and they would see that whether it is a case of willful evasion of tax or failure to file returns. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Friends, there are number on your seats. One by one, we will call the number and we'll take the question. Number 17.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Shishir here from Hindu Business Line. There are a number of figures given, but one number, last evening you talked about that compensation, GST compensation dues will be paid to the states. Can I ask you, ma'am, what is the total due as of now, and what is the situation of compensation fund?
Well, the figures I've given yesterday in the House. So I didn't come ready with the exact figures that you want, but you may want to refer to the answer that I've given in the Rajya Sabha.
Number 7.
Ma'am, given the current situation of the economy, there is a lot of news reports happening that the revenue targets might not be met, whether it be the indirect taxes or the direct taxes. What is the current situation on both the direct and indirect tax collections? And as you have been repeatedly saying, at the RE stage, you might be at a more comfortable position to talk about the fiscal deficit. I'm sure the budget exercise has started. If you could give some outlook on how government would like to maintain the fiscal stand.
Yeah, you're right in saying it has started. It's not ended for me to give you a picture yet.
But on the exact numbers, where we are on direct indirect.
Is there something you want to say, Secretary?
What is the current status of both?
Please let the answer come from this side and then give your questions.
We are undertaking this revised estimate exercise. So I think the things will be clear in the next, I would say, next few weeks. So we are still collecting the data because up till 30th of November, we have already given the data about the income tax, the direct tax, corporation tax, and the income tax, and also about the GST. So those figures are already out in public. Now on 15th of December is the date where the advance tax for the third quarter will come. And this, on this day, we'll get a fairly good estimate that what is going to be the impact of corporate tax reduction, because the corporate tax reduction was announced on 20th of September, and after that, the 15th is the last, 15th is the date where the people will actually, each company will assess that how much tax it has to pay, and in this current year, after adjusting all the tax that it has already paid in the first 2 quarters. So that is the kind of an exercise we will have to undertake, and then only we will come to a realistic figure as to what will be the revenue collection in the income tax in this year.
Question number, plate number 23.
Hi, I'm Shubham Batra from Cogensis. My question is, by which quarter do you see the pickup in economic activity as an impact of the implementation of the central government capex, the CPSC capex, and also the loan disbursals that have happened to the NBFCs? Because there are still some agencies that are projecting that the fourth quarter could see a further dip in the GDP growth to 4.3%. And to the Revenue Secretary, so right now, will there be any provisional estimates on the third installment on of advanced tax collections?
You know, I have already clarified that the income direct tax collection is already out by, you know, the 30th of November figure. You already know that. Same thing is about the GST also. That is the indirect tax. Now, what the trend, what exactly we will get in this quarter, that will be known only on 15th or 16th of December this year, this month. And that is going to tell us that what exactly we will get again in the next quarter, that is on March 15th. So I think we will have to wait for some time to get to some realistic estimate and get to know more than what we already know. That what we know is that the figures which are there till 30th of November, that direct tax and indirect tax.
Number 1. Just please wait. Next.
Hi.
On the by which quarter do you see the pickup in the economic
All right, you may ask me to tell you about which quarter. I'm not at the moment
We will
engaging
provide the
any of
details
these.
later. Yeah.
I'm not engaging with any of these prediction-based questions. I'm looking at the economy where I need to intervene. I'm intervening, and I shall continue to do, addressing the problem of the industry as and when it rises. So I'm not yet in that stage to say any predictions.
Number 1, please.
Ma'am, taking off from what you have just said, that the government will intervene as and how required. There is a lot of commentary now also coming in from various quarters, particularly after the latest IIP numbers. Third consecutive month that the numbers are still in the negative territory. Though the pace of deceleration has come down, and also your inflation numbers have gone up. Keeping all of this in mind, the new commentary that is coming in is now that probably the Indian economy is entering a stage of stagflation, quote unquote. Ma'am, any comments on that? Any observations?
No comments on that. I've heard it. Stagflation is a narrative which is going on. I'm hearing it.
24.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Arup from Business Standard. After the RBI's latest projections, when they have slashed India's growth forecast from 6.1 to 5%, has the government tempered its own internal estimates? Because I'm still going by the last number that the CEA, Dr. Subramanian, had spoken of, that is 6 to 6.5. So have you, tempered your own numbers internally, and that second half, that uptick in second half growth that was expected, is that still an expectation now?
Second half is not over yet. Yeah.
35.
Ma'am, this is Aishwarya Paliwal from India Today. Ma'am, this.
35.
Yeah. Ma'am, now Rahul Gandhi has been going on record and saying that whatever the government is doing is trying to divert the attention from the economy. And he's saying that the economy is in the doldrums. So do you have a counter for that?
Actually, if you want to divert the attention, I should be playing up on a horrendous statement that Sri Rahul Gandhi has made on behalf of all the women of this country.
Number 18. 1
minute. I've not finished. Okay. You saw in the Rajya Sabha today that many women MPs came almost wanting to enter into the well on the horrendous statement, and I repeat that word, horrendous statement, made by Sri Rahul Gandhi. We may belong to the opposition party, but when we are talking about the country, I assume that all of us will be one. We are talking about women and women's dignity. I could have definitely gone hammer and tongs on that matter. Now that you've asked me, I'm taking this opportunity. It's a matter of shame that a senior leader of Congress party speaks forgetting about the dignity of women, and because it also brings in a very important initiative of this government, Make in India, into the picture, and uses all elements of sarcasm to talk about how it is not Make in India, but you know what he said. I don't need to put an effort to distract. This is good enough for me, but I did not till you asked me.
106.
मैडम हिमांशु शेखर, आपके सामने ही हूँ मैं। एक महत्वपूर्ण रिपोर्ट CNAG की पार्लियामेंट में पेश की गई है, जिसमें ये कहा गया है कि जो प्रधानमंत्री उज्ज्वला योजना है, उसकी परफॉर्मेंस ऑडिट में ये पाया गया है कि बहुत सारे गवर्नमेंट फंड्स जो हैं, देयर इज अ रिस्क ऑफ डाइवर्शन ऑफ डोमेस्टिक सिलेंडर्स फॉर कमर्शियल यूज़। कैसे देखते हैं आप इसको? प्लग करने के लिए आपको लगता है सरकार को पहल करनी चाहिए?
जहाँ तक मेरा याद है, इस विषय के ऊपर पार्लियामेंट में शायद एक जवाब कंसर्न डिपार्टमेंट में दिया है, इफ आई एम राइट। इफ नॉट, The whole attempt of the government is to ensure that the direct benefit transfers happen so that there are no pilferages. I'm glad that the CAG is also talking about that there may be a risk, if you use the word. They've not said it has happened already. They only said there may be a risk, right? So the attempt of this government is to make sure that by using DBT, we'll get over the problem, if any. At the moment, even the report, as I understand, as you're saying, has not said that there is something wrong. They only said maybe. Government is already taking steps for DBT.
18 please.
कल रक्षित हूँ एबीपी न्यूज से। कल आईआईपी नंबर आया है, 3 महीने से लगातार डीग्रोथ हो रही है। बात सीपीआई की होती है तो लगातार 4 महीने से महंगाई बढ़ रही है। ऐसे में आपकी तरफ से एक क्लियर स्टेटमेंट क्या होगा कि भारतीय अर्थव्यवस्था इस समय पे कहाँ खड़ी हुई है? आप उसको बुरे दौर में मानती हैं, बहुत बुरे दौर में मानती हैं, या आपका क्या मानना है कि भारतीय अर्थव्यवस्था फिलहाल आप कहाँ पर देखती हैं?
जवाब दे चुकी हूँ। मैं अर्थव्यवस्था कहाँ है वगैरह में एंगेज नहीं कर रही हूँ। मैं सीधा काम कर रही हूँ जहाँ हमारे आवश्यकता है वहाँ कुछ करने के लिए।
Ma'am, I just come back to the issue of the fiscal deficit, because how far will you be able to keep that budgeted target? That is the, everybody is worried about that. Or is there going to be a revision in that because of the fact that there has been, the growth projections haven't gone as expected?
You don't get bored asking the same question. I don't get bored replying the same way. Wait till the RE.
58.
Ma'am, Girish, this side from Mint. Ma'am, there has been buzz in the recent weeks about the possibility of the GST Council considering a possible increase in GST rate or the GST cess to improve revenue collections. But yesterday's data, IIP data, shows that consumer goods output has contracted by 18%. So it appears that it might be a bad time to consider an increase in GST rate, given the slump in consumption. I would like to know your thoughts.
If you don't mind, do you want to start that question all over again? Just the starting bit.
Been buzz in recent weeks that there has been buzz in recent weeks that the GST Council may consider an increase in GST rates or the GST cess in order to.
The bus is everywhere else other than in my office. The bus is everywhere else other than in my office. Does that help? I don't know where this is coming from. I have not been to the GST Council yet. So whether it's going to request them for a hike or to ask them to review, nothing have I spoken among ourselves. We have not had any conversation on it yet. But it's good to see all these churning outside. It helps to clarify our thought processes.
So it's out of the table, I can presume, ma'am.
No, I'm not even saying that. Right. I'm saying we as a team have not spoken yet on what we want to go to the GST Council with. So it's good that so much of thought is having its own churn outside. Helps me to understand how the mindsets work. We have not taken a call. The bus is everywhere else.
Number 2.
Sorry? That's fine, but I'm attributing to my team.
Ma'am, I have a question on GST. Yesterday in the Parliament also you said that the compensation cess has not been paid to the states after August. Many states have also met you. Some of them are even saying that they will consider legal options because getting the compensation cess is their right. What is it that the centre is going to do? And of course the GST Council is going to do in the upcoming days. The meeting is on the 18th. What are the options that are on the table? If you could just help us understand that.
Again, I did give an elaborate answer on this yesterday in the Rajya Sabha. No one is denying that it is their right. I fully acknowledge it is their right. And I've also given the figures out as to what was the collection, how much was paid, in 2017-18, and again what was the collection and what was paid 18-19, and I've also said up to October 31st what was the collection and then what was paid. And I'm also saying that it is an article of faith, cooperative federalism, and we shall keep up what has been committed in terms of giving refunds, in terms of giving the compensation.
68.
That says everything.
68, please. 58.
Madam,
It is also
bankers are nowadays openly saying that very few, comparatively to last financial year, very few corporates are approaching for loan, and those who are approaching due to the government's policy on NPA and RBI norms, they are unable to release loans. So we cannot survive on retail banking. Number two, do you have any plan that if there are in this third quarter, if the non-performing banks, do you have any plan to recapitalization or any further mergers?
Banks extending loans, we have already very clearly shown the figures which came out of the exercise in October and late October and early October. The figures show that when the banks went to the districts, there were people who approached them, and that is why we could achieve that kind of a number within a month. And not just directly from the banks, but also through the NBFCs. But if there are people who feel there is a difficulty, that they are not getting the credit that they want from the banks, they're welcome to approach us. The objective of the government is to make sure where term loans or working capital are issues, they shouldn't remain as issues any longer, and they should get the credit facility. But specifically if there is an issue of NPA, yes, the number of NPAs was a very big issue earlier, but we've brought it all down for the bank. And today there is a lot of, engagement with the customers of the public sector banks, and banks are sitting and talking with them to see how best their stress situation can be restructured. So I don't see that being an unaddressed issue. It may still need time for resolution, but it is being addressed.
30.
Is the 4,877 crore mentioned in the presentation the dues only of the CPSEs or the dues owed by both the government and the CPSEs?
This due pertains to a level of CPSE dues. Earlier, this level was about 13,000 crores. A campaign which was taken earlier, which cleared up a big chunk of 60,000 crore, and it was found that among CPSEs, a level of 13,000 crore as a permanent level remained because bills keep coming on regular basis. So they introduced a portal-based system of clearing to push down that level even lower, so that the cash cycles for the business, largely these are MSMEs, smaller vendors, and so on and so forth. So that level has now come down to 4,887 crores. Now even the effort is to push that envelope even further, that level even comes down below and doesn't go beyond with portal-based payment, continuous monitoring, and these.
So what is the government dues? What are the government dues as of?
Government dues are at much lower level. In fact,
Even lower than
with the clearance of 60,000 crores, they're all between the due period.
So around 4,000 crores or less than that?
No, this specific sum pertains to 32 CPSCs.
Right.
All government dues are within the due period.
Sorry, within the?
Within the due period. Within the period.
37.
Thank you, sir.
हेलो, हाँ मैम, इंडस्ट्री को राहत देने के लिए कारपोरेट टैक्स में बड़ी कटौती की गई थी। उम्मीद थी कि प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टमेंट बढ़ेगा, तो उसका क्या असर अभी तक दिखा है? क्योंकि फॉर्मर आरबीआई गवर्नर रघुराम राजन ने कहा है कि इसके बजाय अगर इन्कम टैक्स के मोर्चे पर राहत दी गई होती तो कंजम्पशन जरूर बढ़ता। तो क्या प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टमेंट बढ़ा है इस वक्त?
कहा
रघुराम राजन कि अगर कारपोरेट टैक्स कटौती की जगह पर अगर पर्सनल इनकम टैक्स में कटौती की गई होती तो कंजम्पशन ज्यादा बढ़ता।
20.
Ma'am, I have a question on GST as well. Last night in your response in Rajya Sabha, you said dues, the compensation released to the state governments as of October has been in excess of about 9,800 crore rupees, which has been collected in the compensation cess fund. So you've released more than what you've collected so far. So as of October 2019. So does that mean that you'll rework your entire compensation strategy, that you have to give compensation to states in every 2 months, since your collections have been lower than what you've been actually compensating states? And since as per the constitution, as on today, you can only compensate states using the compensation cess proceeds. So will that mean you'll increase the compensation cess on products? And will it mean that you would also rework the entire strategy for compensating states?
At this stage, I've explained where we are, which is what I did in the Rajya Sabha. I've also explained that there need not be a confusion, because that was specifically asked by a member, that there need not be a confusion about if only some states have been denied the compensation and some others have been given. No, nobody has been given. That has also been explained. And I also assured that it's the duty, and we recognize the duty that we have to give it. Nobody is denying the compensation to anybody, any state. So at this stage, we are only there. Your several questions all indicating, am I doing a review? Will I reorganize my cess collection? Will I go for a ramped up cess for gaining that money? I have nothing to say at this stage.
11.
Ma'am, you had announced 100 lakh crore investment plans in the infrastructure sector, and there were going to be announcements. What is the status of that?
There are in all 28 different sectors, ministries and departments, from whom the projects would flow in the form of the project information, project preparations. So the projects all put together would form a basic project platform that is consisting of data about those projects, what status they are, what is the sequence of their being implemented, and thereafter how they would be financed, and sectoral reform wherever they are required. That is a structure of a national infrastructure pipeline that would come in place. Most of the data largely is in place, that is getting verified, because that also forms the basis for most of the investors who come in and base their funding upon. And this is in a very, very, very advanced stage of preparation now and finalization.
38. Just another question is coming, please. Just wait.
मैम आमिर न्यूज़ नेशन से। मैम कुछ 5-6 कमोडिटीज़ पर नज़र रखने के लिए जब महंगाई शुरू हो रही थी, या महंगाई जब आई थी, तो ये कहा गया था कि एक स्टेबलाइजेशन फंड जो है वो क्रिएट किया जाएगा ताकि उस महंगाई को रोका जा सके। अभी प्याज की कीमतें 100 रुपये के ऊपर ही चल रही हैं, इंपोर्ट किया जा रहा है बाहर से। कब तक इस सिचुएशन को हैंडल कर पाया जाएगा और कब तक ये डाउन हो पाएगी, कुछ एस्टिमेट है?
जहाँ तक खबर आ रही है मीडिया के द्वारा ही, कई जगह पर प्याज के दाम कम भी होने लगे हैं। कम जितना कम होना है उतना नहीं, मगर जहाँ तक पहुँचा उधर से कम हो रहा है। We've had a group of ministers meeting which is reviewing on almost every 1 or 2 days gap basis and deciding on how to further take up the import related issues. जैसे आप कह रहे हैं सही, that yes, import हो रही है. By the time I also think gradually the crop has started coming in. इसमें हम एक विषय भूलना नहीं चाहिए कि जल्दी पेरिशेबल कमोडिटी जैसे अनियन और जिसमें मॉइस्चर कंटेंट ज़्यादा रहने में और जल्दी भी वो सड़ जाता है, इस बार because of the rain and excessive in some places and flooding in some other places, crop extent ही कम हुआ, therefore output भी कम हुआ. उसके कारण it has gone out of a certain reasonable level. So सरकार के द्वारा हर कदम उठाया जा रहे हैं कि import करें, मार्केट को जल्द से जल्द उसको पहुंचाएं.
41 is over.
मैम मेरा सवाल था कि कल ही खुदरा महंगाई दर यानी रिटेल इन्फ्लेशन के आंकड़े आए. कहा जा रहा है कि 2020 में रिटेल इन्फ्लेशन और ज़्यादा लोगों को परेशान कर सकता है और इसके चलते ये भी संभावना है कि ब्याज दर जो है घट रही थी, अब तक जो ट्रेंड था उसमें बढ़ोतरी देखा जा सकता है. इस पे क्या कहेंगे आप?
अगर मैं इंग्लिश में कहूँ, because it is a lot of if in your question, बढ़ रहा है, what will happen, I may not be able to engage in speculations. Inflation will increase, I don't know, I can't say it. So future में increase होगा, इसके लिए कुछ जवाब मैं कैसे दूँ? I don't think I'll engage in speculations about interest rate or about inflation.
111.
Ma'am, I'm Shivangi, I work for Newsrise. Based on the presentations, it seems like the Finance Ministry has a good view of what has been the impact of the steps you have taken so far. So, based on benefit of this information, what according to you are the sectors that still need immediate attention from the government?
Well, I'm not sure if any adjectives are added to the presentation. We've given a matter of fact presentation. A matter of fact presentation where the steps have been recounted and also what progress we have made till now is what we've given. So I am not yet in a position to say that these steps have borne A, B, C type of results. Although I'd like to have the results coming out or showing up sooner. So that is one thing. The second is, as regards the sectors, till now, I think across the board, those who have spoken to us and demanded some kind of an intervention, we've responded to them. I'll be very keen to see if these steps are really meeting up with the expectation of the sectors concerned. If not, I may want to see if I need to do more. As of now, there is no other sector which has approached me as yet. And it's a question also now because budget is getting too close. In the budgetary kind of a pre-consultation, if something's come, I wouldn't know as yet. We're starting the exercise from Monday.
25. Pass. 9. Pass.
Ma'am, this is more on the IVC. You had introduced the bill yesterday, which couldn't be passed. So, is given the situation, is ordinance a possibility that you'd look at? Because there are cases which are held up, which you are trying to address to the bill.
I'll just give one liner and allow the secretary to speak about it. On the IBC, the government has been very quick-footed each time to respond to the developing situation out in the public domain, where cases or NCLT or any kind of negotiation for resolution are happening. So each time when we come up with amendments, we hope to have them passed at the earliest in the Parliament. But of course, as you said rightly, we've just introduced it in Lok Sabha because it took some time for us to formulate the whole thing. But more than this, of course, I'll ask the Secretary to say a few words on IBC.
Do you have any specific query? Because no, I mean that.
I know you must suggest that. I'm giving them the chance to say what you want to say, and I
I mean, basically, as you're aware, as the minister has said, we have been quick-footed. We are trying to respond to the immediate requirements to ensure that the outcomes are successful. So whatever has been brought in the bill are to address the problems which have been faced, whether it is to see that the licenses, permits, concessions, clearances, they are all intact during the CIRP period, so that the value of the assets are preserved. Similarly, there have been major resolutions which have been cleared where the resolution applicants have been apprehensive about uncertainties. So that matter also has been addressed. So I think the intent of the government has been very clearly articulated. The bill has already been placed in the parliament. So I think most of these apprehensions have been put to rest.
Between you and me, we have not answered, Siddharth.
Another mere coincidence, on 13th, last question from number 13.
Ma'am, Bani Kinka Patnaik from Financial Express. My question is again on the IBC. In the bill, it has been proposed that at least 100 home buyers will be required to initiate insolvency proceedings. But this is going to take retrospective effect. So what happens where the resolution process has already been initiated and the home buyers fail, suppose a single home buyer fails to get the numbers within the 30 days?
So, a specific response to your query is that it is not retrospective. Okay, it is prospective. But all those cases which have been filed but not yet admitted, they will have a 30-day period to cure it. That means if a single home buyer has filed an application to bring a company to resolution process, that single individual will have 30 days to bring in remaining 99 home buyers. The second clarification is this is not a home buyer specific amendment. As you are aware, financial creditors, there are two categories. So under section 21, subsection 6A, you have financial creditors like debenture holders, home buyers, etc., who are very large in number. So unlike the other category where they are not in that many number and the exposure is very large, here the number is very large and individual exposure is very small. So there is an intelligible differential between that category of financial creditor and this category of financial creditor. It has been felt that here, if a single person in say 10,000 people can just trigger the process, it may be excessive. So that is the reason this threshold has been fixed, and as I explained to you, it is not retrospective, but that means if a CIRP has been initiated already, it can't be taken out.
I would like to thank the Finance Minister, MOS Finance and the Secretaries. Friends, thank you very much. Please join for a cup of tea on the 4th floor. Thank you very much.